All right. We are back up live, guys. A very busy night for the Patriots.
Ooh. Take a breath, everybody.
We just need to take a couple deep breaths here. This at the CLNS YouTube page. We've come on quite a few times tonight. The Patriots have already made 4 picks. We're now looking at number 5. They traded up to the 101 pick. With the Jets, they traded with the Jets. It's a miracle. So they're on the clock here now. Their pick is in. We're just waiting to see what it is.
It is Dalton Keene from Virginia Tech. So they double dipped at tight end.
Dalton Keene. Wow. Passing up on Adam Troutman for a second time. Before we get your analysis here, Evan, let's wait for a couple people to join our live stream. I know it was an abrupt addition here as the Patriots just continue to make moves, aggressively trading up now 3 times in day 2. We were all upset about 3 defensive picks. Well, now look at the Patriots double dipping at the tight end position. What do you think about this pick, Evan?
So it's an interesting pick. So Dalton Keene actually had the best combine testing of any tight end in this class. But when you watch his tape at Virginia Tech, he had an extremely limited route tree. I mean, we're talking about a guy that basically only got the ball in the flat or on screens or just kind of underneath types of routes and really didn't get the chance to run vertically down the field at all. It's just the style of offense that they ran at Virginia Tech. So a couple of different comparisons from people that I've heard. I'll shout out Nesson's Doug Kide because he was the first one I've heard say this, to George Kittle. I know that that's a big praise for a guy that we don't really know much about in Dalton Keene, but what I'm saying with George Kittle for is because Kittle had a similar college experience where he really wasn't used much in the offense, and that was really the projection that got him over the top in the NFL was the athletic profile. And that's what you have with Keene, a guy that is super athletic, can really run after the catch with the ball in his hands and kind of be that H-back slot tight end, detach him from the formation, fullback even, and move him all around the formation.
I got to tell you, you know what this reminds me of? This makes me think they want somebody behind James Devlin.
Interesting. Yeah, I would think that maybe they want somebody behind James Devlin. They also signed Danny Vitale in the offseason, who kind of basically is Dalton Keene. So that's an interesting sort of element there to look at. So either they are thinking about James Devlin or they're thinking about potentially having more of like a Gronk and Hernandez type thing going on here with Asiasi and Keene. I'm not sure which way they're going with this, but they have a lot of these H-back type of players now with both Keene and Vitale in the mix.
Well, I mean, when you mentioned H-back, you know, that is the kind of position that Belichick views as could be a fullback, could be an H-back, could be tight end. And it just, I think Belichick, once they bring a guy like Keene into camp and see what he can do and how he assimilates to the Patriots offense, then they make that determination.
And I think a lot of people, again, Evan, will be wondering, okay, why Dalton Keene now if you're trading up to double dip at the tight end position instead of Adam Troutman, who's still on the board, was mocked so highly. People can't believe really that he's still available this late in the 3rd round. And the Patriots obviously wanted 2 tight ends here, and they pass up on him. Why?
It's a really good question. I think the biggest reason why we keep seeing this, and it's kind of talking out of both sides of your mouth because they drafted Kyle Duggar, but maybe the FCS level thing is the reason why. I don't really know. I think the biggest thing with Keene is that he's a little bit different from your traditional tight end. This is more of like a fullback H-back type of player, right, and not your typical inline hand in the dirt type of tight end. I think they just preferred Asiasi for that particular role over Troutman, and now they're going with a different style of player here with Keene, but some great athleticism. I mean, this is a guy that tested in the 80th percentile at the combine, had the best SPARQ score out of any tight end in Indianapolis. Great broad jump, great vertical for a tight end position. Decent 40 time, 4.71's not blazing, but at 253 pounds, it's not bad. So I think that they look at him more as like a Swiss Army knife type player, whereas Trautman was probably an inline role specific type player.
The other point I would make about the Division II and lower levels versus Division I, and when you're talking about somebody like Kyle Duggar, is he has transcendent athletic ability, right, Evan?
Sure.
I mean, his athletic ability translates immediately to the National Football League. It's just a matter of coaching him up, and Belichick certainly has no problem in trusting his coaching staff, Gerard Mayo and others, to bring him, and his son, Steve Belichick, to bring him along and assimilate him into the defense. Offensively, I think you feel like the Adam Trautmans of the world are not transcendent athletically, and if they're not, then you default back to their competition level. And certainly, with Virginia playing at Virginia Tech in the ACC, that is the best competition, some of the best competition there is.
Here are some of the details of the trade. The Patriots get the 101st pick, and they give the Jets the 125th pick, the 129th pick, and a 2021 sixth rounder. The Patriots and the Jets don't make deals often, but I guess Dalton Keene, the tight end from Virginia Tech, was too good for Bill Belichick to pass up on. A really aggressive day 2 for Belichick and the Patriots. Now 5 players brought in to the organization today alone. For people just joining us on the live stream, because obviously TV is a little bit behind when we all really find out via social media who the Patriots are picking. Dalton Keene out of Virginia Tech. Evan, just go through your bullet points one more time about what you like about him.
Yeah, 80th percentile tester at the combine, the best tester in the tight end class at the combine this year in Indianapolis. I think the biggest thing when you look at him, though, is the ability to create after the catch with the ball in his hands. That's the one trait that I can sink my teeth into and tell you about right now. The biggest reason why is because his role was extremely limited at Virginia Tech. We're talking about tight end screens, flat routes kind of just swinging out of the backfield on motion and stuff like that. Not a lot of creativity down the field, not a lot of opportunities to run down the field and create vertically as a pass catcher, but a guy that can probably develop into that role a little bit more at the next level as a downfield pass catcher. But I really think that they're going to look at him as an H-back type. Now, I do think it's very interesting that they traded up as aggressively as they did to come back up and get Dalton Keene. I had him as like a 5th or a 6th round prospect. So they obviously, coveted him and saw him as a much higher type of player. But I think that, like I said at the beginning, I think that they're kind of recreating Gronk and Aaron Hernandez a little bit here. And you got the kind of the more inline guy that's a little bit bigger and a little bit more of a vertical seam catcher with Devin Asiasi. And then you got the gadget player in Dalton Keene that can win with the ball in his hands and win in the underneath part of the field. So they double dip at tight end, completely rework the depth chart there. I mean, I think we're looking at a situation where one of Matt Lacoste or Ryan Izzo is on the 53 and not both. So they're going to completely kind of revamp this entire tight end position moving forward.
The other thing I would say real quick here is while his role may have been limited, he was certainly trusted from the get-go at Virginia Tech. True freshman year, he started 12 of 13 games played. I think that's a pretty good indicator when Bill Belichick is looking at how much a guy like, or a program like Virginia Tech looks at a guy like Dalton Keene, that the guy obviously is a very responsible athlete right away.
Well, I think we all remember the last time the Patriots drafted a tight end duo. You mentioned it, Evan, with Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez. If Devin Asiasi and Dalton Keene can even be a fraction of what the talent that those two had and the impact they had on the field together, I think Patriots fans will be incredibly happy with this decision and these picks here on day 2 of the NFL draft. As we end this final day 2, round 3 of the draft, there are just a couple picks left. Who knows, at this point, Patriots might trade back in. I don't know how many picks they have left for day 3 now. They had a whole bunch of them, but now they've traded up 3 times in this rounds 2 and 3 today. Are you surprised that with any of the decisions they've made today, do you expect them to target a quarterback tomorrow?
Well, we're sitting here right now, Sierra, and Jake Fromm and Jacob Eason are both still on the board, which I find hard to believe. I have the picks right now in front of me. They have a fifth, they still have the 4th, 6th, and they have the 7th rounder. I think the one thing that you see with them packaging together a lot of these picks is two things. One, they moved out of the first round on top of it, too. The salary cap crunch is sort of a factor here, right? And getting that class to be a little bit smaller, so it's just a little bit cheaper to sign all of these draft picks might be one line of thinking that they're taking on here. The other one is they had 13 picks. They had so many picks and bites at the apple that you might as well package some of those together and target the exact guy that you want at each point of the draft. So I think it's a little bit of both things working here, but don't sleep on the salary cap thing. This is going to make the class a little bit cheaper for the Patriots, even just by, $500,000 is worth it, I think, for them.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for joining us tonight for night 2 of the NFL draft. We think the Patriots are done. We've got like 3 picks left tonight. Who knows what Bill Belichick has up his sleeve. If they trade up, we'll be here, but we're assuming they won't. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll be back here tomorrow for day 3 of the NFL draft, where Bill Belichick and the Patriots have plenty more picks to play with. Thanks again for joining us.